Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Jug Show. So, today we're continuing on with the Fantastic Four, or in this case, the Fantastic One. Before I go into this particular comic, I got a couple of comments about it that I'd like to make. So, the big thing that I really felt like with this book is that it's definitely proof that Valeria, as well as the rest of the kids, as we've been seeing them through the North Run, have definitely got the substance and what's the word? I had it in a substance and character to actually hold their own book. This really proves it because it really shows Valeria having to make hard decisions, how she feels about her family, and her capability of even surviving in a unknown world. So it really shows the type of character that she is and how she's grown since being an infant. So I really feel like, especially after this issue, Nikki's issue a couple of issues back, and Franklin's issue when he was actually when they revealed he actually still has his powers. I personally feel that the kids are definitely ready for their own standalone book, separate from the Fantastic Four. And I feel like they actually are ready for that, and they could be on the quality of the Champions, the Young Avengers, the New Mutants, and I really feel like the Fantastic Four as a franchise could really benefit from that book because the fact is the core four, the Fantastic Four and the core four aren't really known much for spreading out, and I really feel like they actually could. And so I really feel like that Ryan is definitely proving that the kids and the Fantastic Four can actually spread out. He can expand the franchise if they're just allowed to. It's one of the issues I'm having with the fact that while I'm a big fan of Ben Grimm, the fact that he has a solo going after already having three since 2018, and he's getting that splash page one shot, and the fact that both of them are more or less about his senses as a fighter and a guy that's almost constantly filled with rage or even just wanting to pick a fight. I feel like that's actually very problematic for both the character and the franchise because out of the three, which was Tom Riley's thing, Clobber in Time, and this current solo, only two of them, only one of them has actually been in the more modern setting where he's married to Alicia and he has the kids. But they played a very small part in the story. And I feel like if we're actually going to have a Ben Grimm solo, Alicia, the kids, and his relationship with the Fantastic Four should actually be a very important part. And it's driving me crazy that that's not what's been happening. But I really do hope that it can happen in the future. It's one of the reasons that Ryan is actually proving to be one of my favorite Fantastic Four writers. Not only is he treating the family differently than most, he also treats Ben differently. He hasn't been treating him as the angry, always looking for a fight type of guy. He's smart, he's calmer, and he's calculating, and the issue where he was falling in the pit also proved that he is intelligent because he is. He was a test pilot. They don't just let anybody that's a test pilot be a test that they don't just let anybody off the street be a test pilot. So I'm really appreciating the fact that it feels like Ryan is updating or just really bringing the source material of the Fantastic Four into a more modern day. And I'm really hoping eventually writers will actually start taking from this run and even Summer Slot's run because of the big update that Slot and Ryan have brought to the Fantastic Four, and I really hope they'll start spreading them out a lot more because fact is they have a lot of potential as a franchise, and it's getting a little bit frustrating that nobody is harnessing that potential. So, continuing on the issue, the start of it Ryan does not waste an opportunity to say, hey, check out a Sue Storm power moment. He never misses a moment to show how powerful and sometimes how ridiculous Sue's abilities are. Like, now we have him holding back literally time being rewritten. She's able to hold back temporal flux in a maelstrom. So he's really pushing the fact that Sue's powers can affect reality itself, that it can affect literally the space-time continuum. Because this isn't the first time he's had her powers do something like that. Back in the issue with following Alicia, when Paste Pop Pete actually rewrote reality with the Cosmic Cube, and it was revealed that her force field was holding back the altered reality from Reed. She's really exceptionally powerful. I'm grateful that Ryan is actually showing that. So, but it's not the main part of the story. It's just something worth showcasing, and it's a great addition to what Sue can actually do. The next interesting part comes when Valeria is now trying to navigate this world. She's in this new world, a world where the Fantastic Four never existed. Now she's got to navigate. What I really like here is bringing up this idea of these thought experiments that Reed's given the kids every now and again. I really feel like this is almost kind of like Reed getting the kids ready, like kind of training them for when they're heroes. It's kind of like Xavier with the Danger Room, but Reed would never actually use a Danger Room. He's very pacifistic like that. So, this is where it really does get interesting. This is where the character of Valeria Richards really starts moving. So, she's figuring out everything. She knows to go to the library because right now it's easy mode of finding out where and when she is. She's finding all this information out. She's finding where she is, who she is, when, and all of this. So it's really showing her intelligence and information gathering abilities. The next interesting part comes when after she visited her parents and that they were acting rather bizarre. Like just a full on, that's nice, dear. And that is just so freaking creepy. And we reveal the big ultimate reason why Franklin doesn't have his powers. This is like a form of validating the reasoning behind Ryan's decision. He's become a form of Galactus. Except this Galactus is almost... Except this version of Galactus doesn't eat planets. Franklin, with very little resistance, has taken over the world. And because he has the mind of a child, he doesn't understand the senses of grays and hardships and character building of individual people. He just thinks people should be happy and fair to everybody. So this also made me think of what it would have been like on Krakoa, because before Franklin got rejected on Krakoa after the huge retcon of him being a mutant, he was actually being told he was being treated as mutant royalty. He was probably getting all the same kind of treatment a lot of X-Men were getting, especially being an Omega, who were also treated as royalty. So the fact is, probably could have ended up being a very similar result of what would happen if he stayed on Krakoa. He probably wouldn't have had like that sense of growth as a person. He would have just been worshipped. And we have seen moments like that, including with the Five. They were constantly being worshipped. So this type of stuff with Franklin, it would have made sense if any of them managed to get in his head and he could start doing just about anything. Like removing all the bad things, putting in only good things, everything to just benefit Krakoa. It's one of the reasons I think Franklin is actually still a mutant, but he hides his abilities because he doesn't want to be what Krakoa wanted him to be. And he knew that if he was still a mutant, then the X-Men would have stopped at nothing to try and actually resurge that kind of power so they could benefit from it. I really feel like that's definitely a good way to go, and I hope maybe in the future that's where the direction of Franklin Richards and his mutation could go, because I believe that would be a fascinating story. So, to help combat this, Valeria meets I don't even know how to describe this. I don't know where Ryan's head was. Maybe he flipped a coin. Maybe he just thought, what if I do this? Or just maybe, okay, so I'm gonna need a powerful telepath. Maybe just not Charles Xavier. So how about Jean Grey? And then paired her up with Namor. I don't get why. I really don't. Just to be funny? If it's just to be funny, just say it. Just to be funny. I feel like it's just to be funny. I don't really feel like there was a big reason why. I don't hate it. Like, I know it's going to be temporary, but it could be worse. Valeria figures out that how it all happened. That Franklin's actual abilities was that Franklin was moved back along with her, so he was put into Franklin's head. But unlike Valeria, because he was a child, he was a fetus. He didn't retain the memories. He didn't retain anything. He just had his power active. Unlike how it was and because it was more evolved, it wasn't like how his abilities naturally established. Through the trauma of when I think it was Annihilus coming around, and that's when his powers really sparked. His powers were already heavily evolved as he was as a teenager, so it's already so much more powerful. And that power was proved when he destroyed Galactus. It's actually kind of terrifying thinking about that. So, as a kid who's pretty much growing up on Play School and Wiggles and having all this kind of power, just thinking, because when you're at that age and you see all this horrible stuff happening in the world, you say to yourself, or you ask your parents, why can't people be nice to each other? And with that mindset, Franklin goes to work to create a world where everybody's just nice to each other. The problem is that also removes a sense of individuality. It removes any sense of free will and choice. And so you end up with Dictator Franklin. So I'm actually thinking. So the reason why I think this is actually very good and fascinating is because it actually expands on a sense of a dichotomy between Franklin and Valeria. Franklin's the powerful one. Valeria is one of the most intelligent beings ever. This kind of dichotomy is like how they can balance each other out. Because I always had this idea that either one of them could probably go bad, either drunk on power, or one embraces their godfather's way of thinking, and the other would have to stop them. Franklin is, in a way, a bit more emotionally evolved and open than Valeria is. So, because he sees things a little bit more like a person than she would, because she's also bases thing off logic. She's almost a little bit like Reed like that. So, and when it comes to probably being very emotional, that's where Franklin can come in. He's like, literally, he's almost destroyed the universe when he was an infant for being that emotional. So he probably also relies on Valeria to keep him in check. It creates an interesting bond of how much these two love each other, but know that these two are the ones they probably rely on to stop each other if the other went bad. I feel like that's a very interesting way to look at their relationship. So, continuing on, they come up with a plan. To stop Franklin, they have to send a message back in time so that Valeria can stop it all, or just. She's trying to transport her mind, but figuring that she can't do that, she tricks Franklin, and we get this splash page. It's really spooky. Like, I don't know what to make of it. It's just them in the blank, and that's one of the most fascinating ways of looking at comics. This is actually one of the things I love most about comics, when things are just so, in a way, bleak. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it really gives that feel of the end that there's nothing else around. And this is where I really come from with the idea that Franklin and Valeria would keep each other in check. That while Valeria would do this to Franklin, this is also a bit of a Valeria's darker side as well. like, this is what actually was a bit funny. Not only did this comic come out this week, but also did the Ultimates, and the idea of changing the past by almost erasing it so they create a new world was actually a subject in there by not just anyone, but by Reed, who in the Ultimate Universe, written by that was started by Jonathan Hickman, but the Ultimates written by Dennis Camp, where Doom was trying to actually reset the world so he could get his family back, and he doesn't see that this world is worth having, that he can't build anything with what the makers created. So that was a real father-daughter scenario, and I've even asked Dennis Camp if that was actually plans, like if the release of these two comics and having this subject matter with these particular characters come out on the same week was intentional. I don't know if it is or isn't, but I just think it's funny. And this is definitely a darker side of Valeria because it showed a bit of do what she will, not do what she will, does what she has to, that she can actually live with the decisions that she makes because of how much she loves her family, how much she loves her brother. That she's not going to live in a world with the worst version of him in it. This is something I feel like a lot of people underestimate about Valeria. In myself as well. And it also sometimes, like, I felt, okay, put it like this. When One World Under Doom #2 came out, that was made famous by that scene of Valeria hugging Doctor Doom. That and other interactions with Doctor Doom, it's not unfair for a person to say that she would care as much as she does about Doom, and sometimes you would even feel that she cares for him more than she would her own family. But the fact is, that's wrong. Valeria would never side with anyone over her family. And this is a big reminder of that. This is a twisted, warped version of her family, and she can't live in this. So she's going to get rid of it so she can get her family back. She's willing to sacrifice herself so she can have her family back, so she doesn't have to live through this. This is a massive moment for a character, and to show how much she really does care and how far she's willing to go, especially when just by Franklin saying that this is murder, that she's killing him, she's committing murder, and especially with the Ultimates, how it brought up the idea that they're getting rid of trillions and trillions of lives. It's just something that's really been coming forward in some comics. So this is an intense issue, and its ending is just kind of a reset. We're going all the way back to how the last issue ended, Fantastic Four 31. And now Valeria has an idea how to beat Doom. This is probably what's going to lead into One World Under Doom issue 6. The one with the crazy Doom tearing open Reed's head very cover. It's just a shocking one, but it's so good too. So she's probably going to figure out exactly what the opening in his armor is. And this is also what's probably going to lead into the new relaunch with Ryan North and Humberto Ramos writing a new #1. Don't ask me why. And what's going to lead to them being transported into the past. So, this is making up to be a good climactic ending for this particular run. And for this particular volume, I don't really consider the run over if Ryan's still writing, but this volume of the book is ending. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I'm looking forward to Fantastic Zero and seeing what's going to happen. And like I said, this was a very interesting issue. It's one where you really do look into Valeria as a person and as a potential superhero in the future. How her mind works, that she's the thinker. She actually has tactics, she strategizes, but she's also a bit on the darker side because she's willing to destroy. She's willing to undo. She's willing to watch people die. She's willing to make sacrifices. This is why she has Franklin, because he is the emotional one. He's the one that doesn't want these bad things to happen, but she knows that if he goes too far, he's going to become still a dark version. They really balance each other out. And I'm really hoping that in the relaunch, we're going to see more of that. So, wrapping up, the issue is really about Valeria and about Franklin, about invalidating why he's made the choice he has. Because one of the big things that people have said about Franklin, especially I noticed during the Cohen era, why doesn't Franklin fix this? Why doesn't he fix this? Why doesn't he just fix this? This shows that if he does, and if he just doesn't stop, he could become a version of himself that people would actually be afraid of, that would actually cause damage, that would cause destruction. So I think we should all be happy that he doesn't. And I'm really looking forward to more stories. I have been informed that the kids are going to be having a more active role in the relaunch. I'm really hoping to see that. I'm really hoping to see that if they get I'm really hoping that they get their own book. I really feel like that these four of Franklin, Valeria, Joe, and Nikki are ready for their own separate book about their lives at school, their development, Joe and Nikki accumulating to being on an alien world that doesn't have their culture. Franklin and Valeria learning, just handling their innate gifts. It would be a good book to explore. They're ready to be on the level of the champions, the red level of the Young Avengers, the New Mutants. So I really feel like they deserve their push. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. If you want to talk about it, please leave a comment in the section below and we'll chat about it all the live long day. And I really hope you had a good time talking comics. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, actually, hang on. Before I go, just a little bit of a heads up. In a couple of weeks for the next Storm review, we're going to have some very fun guests coming onto the show. No, I'm going to be hosting my very first guests, a couple of other very